There once was a monarch who disregarded conventions and expectations in the world of African royalty, where regal etiquette and ancient traditions endure. This engrossing story transports us to a historic meeting between the beloved British ruler, Queen Elizabeth II, and an African king whose name carried the weight of his ancestry. This African monarch, unfazed by customary etiquette, dared to remain steadfast and refused to bow in homage to Her Majesty, making their meeting one that would live on in history forever. This extraordinary king blazed an unbreakable path and left an enduring legacy on the annals of history by setting out on a voyage of cultural independence and unwavering pride. This is the tale of Attah Ameh Oboni, the Nigerian king who refused to submit to the English queen in favor of suicide. 1911 saw the birth of a predestined soul in the charming town of Ugwolawo, which is located close to the lush fields of Kogi State, Nigeria. For his people, the Igala, this blessed kid, King Attah Ameh Oboni, would become a symbol of hope and authority. From a young age, it was clear that he had the uncommon traits of charm, wisdom, and a strong sense of kinship. The young Attah Ameh Oboni gradually became obvious as the heir apparent to the illustrious Attah kingdom as the years and seasons unfolded their tapestry. He was entrusted with a great deal of responsibility, but he accepted it gracefully and committed himself to learning and growing. He developed his intelligence by absorbing the lessons of his ancestors and engraving their profound insight into his own self, guided by the wisdom that has been passed down through the decades. A tremendous period of progress and prosperity was achieved by the Igala kingdom under the reign of King Attah Ameh Oboni. Thanks in large part to his inspiring leadership, the region saw an unparalleled economic boom that revitalized its markets and gave its people newfound hope. One of the many ways the monarch showed his undying commitment to his people was by expanding native schools. He made investments in the expansion and development of educational institutions, fostering the growth of young minds and creating doors to a better future, realizing the potential of education in empowering future generations. King Attah Ameh Oboni's reign was characterized, above all else, by his unshakable dedication to upholding the customs and cultural legacy of the Igala people. He encouraged his followers to feel proud of their identity by embracing the diverse tapestry of Igala rituals. He became a living example of the principles and goals held dear by his forefathers by his majestic demeanor and selfless deeds, leading his people through both happy and sad times. King Attah Ameh Oboni was more than just a respected traditional African ruler. He was a force that existed outside of this world. His voice carried unearthly power, as if, at his words, the whole fabric of existence shifted to obey his order. Those who observed his supernatural talent were left in awe of his great ability to discern the unseen and make precise forecasts. Many were aware of his magical abilities, and they were in awe of this exceptional supernatural talent. Along with the ability to rule his realm, King Attah Ameh Oboni also had the authority to deal with cases of misconduct, disobedience, and disrespect. He boldly used his right to make decisions in the face of such hurdles, and the outcomes he predicted materialized quickly. When the circumstances called for it, he did not mince words, and his followers were filled with wonder and respect at the instant his words came to pass. As a monarch, King Attah was subject to a number of customs, some of which seemed peculiar to outsiders. These distinctive practices had a strong cultural foundation within Igala society. For example, he was forbidden as a king from seeing dead people, as it was thought to shield him from the evil spirits connected to death. In addition, he was supposed to keep his cap on when he was among other people as a sign of his royalty and to uphold his dignity. He was also not allowed to shake hands with women, according to another custom that sprang from the Igala community's reverence and sacredness for women. But even with their cultural importance, some of these customary demands proved problematic for King Attah in the end. Strict adherence to these guidelines produced situations where relationships and etiquette conflicted with modern circumstances, even though tradition and society norms depended on them. The king faced unanticipated difficulties as a result of these disputes, which made him tread carefully, when it came to honoring his royal obligations and taking into account how the world was evolving. The reign of King Attah Ameh Oboni serves as evidence of the complicated interplay between customs and changing social realities, as well as the potential for these conflicts to arise. These laws posed special difficulties for the king, even though they were intended to protect the Igala kingdom's rich history and dignity. King Attah taught us the value of adjusting and striking a careful balance between respecting tradition and embracing the realities of the contemporary world through his guidance and insight. The Queen of England was present at an important meeting of traditional leaders from all over Nigeria that took place in Kaduna. Amidst this esteemed assembly, King Attah Ameh encountered an exceptional obstacle. It was usual for everyone present to take off their caps as a show of respect when they greeted the Queen. This presented a problem for Attah Ameh, though, who insisted on upholding the customs of his kingship. Standing firm in his convictions and traditions, he made the decision to uphold the integrity of his traditions by choosing not to take off his cap, even when surrounded by royalty. Attah was eventually forced to take off his cap and attempted to bow to the Queen after much persuasion and a threat to cast him out and dethrone him if he refused. His dethronement would prevent his descendants from ever assuming the throne, therefore he had a lot on the line. To his people, he was a miniature deity, and to bow down to a human was an insult. Attah reluctantly complied with the request and took off his cap. The moment the cap was removed, much to the surprise of everyone inside, a swarm of bees emerged from its depths, filling the meeting hall with a cacophony of buzzing activity. There was panic as people hurried out of the room, trying to dodge the stinging insects that had taken over. Unfortunately, a few people were stung by the bees, which caused the conference to end quickly and create a cloud of commotion around the gathering. Attah's fast thinking and insight, however, were evident despite the turmoil. Aware of what might happen, he had told the other great king, the Oba of Benin, to go outside before taking off his own hat. Thanks to this wise advice, the Oba and his group were able to see the chaos as it was happening without getting sucked into the hive. With his timely advice and vision, Attah proved himself to be a wise advisor in addition to a ruler, sparing his fellow monarch from the unanticipated consequences of his misfortune. Security personnel were ordered to capture and handcuff Attah Ameh Oboni. To everyone's surprise, though, the handcuffs inexplicably fell off his hands and were not explained. Those in attendance were astounded by the strange occurrence, which showed an unexplainable power in action. The northern lords had ordered King Attah Ameh Oboni to be imprisoned in a chamber upon his capture. They put him under the careful observation of guards, who thought their captor would stay locked within the room. But later on, to their complete surprise, it turned out that Attah had magically disappeared from the room. It was the security guards themselves that noticed his absence, becoming puzzled and unsure of what to do. While being held captive, King Attah came up with a cunning scheme that his captors were unaware of. While the guards guided him to the chamber, he surreptitiously communicated directives to his faithful chauffeur, Amenabo, who would play a crucial role in his escape. Amenabo was given a crucial assignment by Attah, to steal the car and return to their homeland of Ida without alerting the security guards. Amenabo was first hesitant to leave his beloved Attah behind, but the king persisted, telling him he would be safe and urged him to go forward without turning around until a cool air surrounded the chariot. Reluctantly, and with a mixture of trust and trepidation, Amenabo followed Attah's directions, and they started their trek from Kaduna to Ida. Attah was imprisoned within the chamber as they drove away, and his captors had no idea that their prisoner had already managed to escape. As he set off on this remarkable expedition, Amenabo struggled with mixed feelings as he navigated the highways with both enthusiasm and dread. He refused to look back, keeping his head held firmly forward in anticipation of the promised sign of a cool breeze that Attah would be safe and sound. Tension mounted on the ride back to Ida, as Amenabo's thoughts wavered between worry for his king and a resolve to carry out his assigned duty. At last, as though led by some invisible power, a chilly breeze blew through the automobile, confirming Attah's direction. Amenabo was aware that his beloved Attah was safe, and that his escape was an incredible example of the cunning and unwavering determination of a monarch who had resisted being taken prisoner. This audacious escape would go down in history as a monument to King Attah Ameh Oboni's unshakable resolve, the devotion of his driver Amenabo, and the mysterious forces that appeared to work in his favor. The people of Igala land would always tell this amazing story, honoring the bravery and slyness of their beloved monarch, who, in the face of overwhelming adversity, succeeded in outwitting his captors and making his way back to his cherished realm. His willful action initiated a sequence of circumstances that ultimately resulted in his downfall as he turned against the queen and the chiefs of the north. Before farming begins on the Ocho, Attah Igala prays to God for a plentiful harvest, enough rainfall, and success in the hunt. He uses a bird to make a small sacrifice to the ancestors in order to ascertain whether the area would experience blessings or difficulties following the Ocho. The adversaries would now turn the blood of the animal offered as a sacrifice at Ocho ground against him. After two Igala people were accused of offering human sacrifices during the Ocho festivities, they petitioned the queen and northern elders. Attah Ameh was deposed because he was quickly determined unsuitable to reign without conducting full investigations. As a result, the Ocho and all other Igala traditional events were outlawed right away, and this ban was in place for about 63 years. Governor Yahya Bello eventually removed the restriction in response to the current Attah Igala's request, enabling the resuscitation of the beloved cultural customs. The restored festivals are a living example of the Igala people's tenacity and cultural legacy. Attah Ameh confidently spoke his last prophecy before he died, filled with a deep belief in divine justice and an unshakable certainty in his righteousness. He knew what lay ahead for those who had plotted against him, especially those responsible for the petition that signaled the start of his intended overthrow. The hand that wrote the petition shall wither, he declared, making certain that the consequences of their deeds would be both concrete and permanent. Moreover, he predicted that this group's leader would meet an exceptional end, that is, be buried not once, but 3 times. Witnesses were shocked to observe the astonishing manifestation of Attah's prophecies, which seemed to have supernatural force. The realization of Attah Ameh's prophecy left a lasting impression on the Igala community's collective consciousness. It was evidence of his unshakable conviction in his own innocence and the eventual victory of truth over deception. The course of events served as a stark reminder of the consequences that follow one's conduct and the great weight that words spoken by a respected monarch carry. The prophetic legacy of Attah would go down in history as a potent reminder of the justice and destiny that are inextricably linked to human existence. With all of his wisdom, Attah Ameh issued another important prophecy in the midst of the chaos brought on by the betrayal of the Igala people. He declared that there would be strife in the Igala community until his own son, Attah, reigned. He also imagined a time when all Igalas, wherever they may be in the world, will come together once more. With its emphasis on the ultimate restoration of peace and unity among the Igala people, a vision that would come to pass under the direction of Attah Ameh's legitimate successor, this manifesto conveyed a message of optimism. The history of the Igala people is forever changed by the tale of King Attah Ameh Oboni, his prophetic words, and his resistance to baseless allegations. His steadfast faith in his innocence and the fulfillment of his forecasts serve as a powerful example of how fate and justice are connected. By his legacy, Attah Ameh serves as a reminder of the strength of the truth, the repercussions of one's conduct, and the possibility of restoring harmony and unity even in the face of hardship. His tale is proof of the Igala community's tenacity, insight, and unwavering spirit. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe for more interesting stories like this one.